Have you ever had a passion? You know, that one thing you are amazing at, the thing that makes you truly you. Maybe you can cook a perfect steak, or you are weirdly good at parallel parking. It is that spark, that undeniable connection to something that feels like it was made just for you. Well, our hero for today, Kaito, his thing was music. He wasn't just good at it, he was a prodigy. From the moment his small hands first wrapped around a guitar neck, it was clear. His fingers could move across a fretboard faster than a spider on an espresso bender. He and his beautiful sunburst electric guitar, they were a team. They were inseparable. They were going to conquer the world. Every note he played was a promise, a declaration of a future filled with soaring melodies and thunderous applause. But then, they didn't. Now that same guitar sits in the corner of his cramped, sad-looking apartment. It is like a retired superhero gathering dust, its once vibrant finish dulled by neglect, its strings silent. And Kaito, well, he has a problem. He and his guitar, they are not on speaking terms anymore, because the sounds he used to make, the ones that sang and soared and made people feel things, the ones that were his very soul, now they just scream. So what happened? How does a prodigy, a young man destined for greatness, end up with a silent guitar and a broken spirit? Let us go back to the night the music died. Picture this, the All Japan Prodigy Showcase, a huge, brightly lit stage bathed in the harsh glare of spotlights. The air crackles with anticipation, 1,000 eyes fixed on the young performers. Kaito is up there, the youngest finalist, barely old enough to shave, yet already a legend in the making. He is shredding. It is flawless. It is technical. It is brilliant. Every note is perfectly placed, every riff executed with surgical precision. But as he plays, there is a hollowness, an emptiness that even he cannot quite place. He is so focused on hitting every note perfectly, on proving his worth, he has forgotten to put any soul into it. The music is a perfect machine, but it lacks a heart. And then, in the middle of his big, show-stopping solo, the one he had practiced 1,000 times, the one meant to cement his legacy, his mind just goes blank. The intricate pattern of notes vanishes. His fingers freeze, hovering uselessly above the fretboard. A cold wave of panic washes over him, a sudden terrifying void where his music should be. And in that moment of terror, his hand slips. The neck of his beloved guitar swings wildly, hitting the microphone stand with a sickening crack. The music stops. The sudden silence is deafening, a vast empty space where a moment ago there was a symphony. The crowd is silent for a moment, a collective gasp held in 1,000 throats, and then, slowly, insidiously, a ripple of sound begins. Whispers turn to snickers, snickers turn to jeers. Cruel, shadowy faces in the audience begin to laugh. "He choked!" someone shouts. "Some prodigy!" another voice mocks. The words cut through the silence like knives. That night, Kaito didn't just break his guitar, he broke himself. The instrument, once an extension of his being, became a symbol of his failure. His bandmates, who had once looked at him with awe, abandoned him. Their dreams shattered along with his. His teacher, a man who had once praised his genius, told him his music was nothing but technical garbage. And the one thing that had defined his entire life, the very core of his identity, became his greatest source of shame. He retreated, not just from music, but from the world. Which brings us back to today. Kaito now spends his nights in a deserted park, a place where the shadows are long and the streetlights are few. He brings his guitar, but he doesn't plug it in. He doesn't even carry an amplifier. He just sits there, strumming silent, ghost chords that no one can hear. It is his own private, pathetic little ritual, a way to touch the thing he loves without having to hear how broken it sounds, how much it reminds him of that night. He runs to the park every night, not for the peace, but so no one can hear the noise in his head. The echoes of laughter, the shouts, the sickening crack of wood against metal. He places his fingers on the fretboard, hesitantly, as if touching something fragile and dangerous. He strums. Just the faint, sad plink of unamplified strings, a whisper of what once was. His face is a mask of concentration and pain, a silent battle playing out in the dim light. And then, a soft voice from the next bench over. That one felt blue. Kaito just about jumps out of his skin. He spins around, his heart pounding. He looks over. There is a person sitting there, bathed in the glow of a single street lamp. Their name is Akari. They have soft, gentle features and a calm, curious expression, their eyes fixed on him with an unsettling intensity. Kaito is completely bewildered. What? You could hear that? He had not even plugged it in. Akari smiles, a small, knowing curve of their lips, and points to a subtle hearing aid nestled in their ear. Not really. Not like you do. I mostly feel it. Akari places a hand flat on the wooden bench, their fingers splayed. The vibrations. They travel through the ground, the wood. They have shapes, colors. That chord was low and slow, like deep blue. Kaito just stares. He is a music theory nerd. He thinks in notes, scales, and chord progressions. He has never, ever heard anyone describe music like this. It is alien, yet strangely compelling. But it was just a G minor, Kaito says, his voice laced with disbelief. There is nothing special about it. It is broken, just noise. Akari's gaze is incredibly sincere, unwavering. They look from Kaito's trembling hands to his tired eyes, filled with a decade of unspoken pain. It wasn't noise. It was honest. Please play another. And so began the strangest collaboration in history. Night after night, Kaito would return to the park, drawn by an invisible thread. He would play his silent, broken music, the faint plink of unamplified strings the only sound. And Akari would sit on the next bench, with their eyes closed and a hand on the wood, and listen. Not with their ears, but with their entire being. At first, it was just single hesitant notes. Kaito would pluck a string, a tentative offering. Akari would say, that one was sharp, like a little pinprick of yellow. Then, a few chords strung together with an effort that felt monumental to Kaito. That progression was like a staircase going down into a grey basement, Akari would describe, their voice soft yet precise. Kaito found himself waiting for these descriptions, these strange, beautiful interpretations. He began to listen differently, not just to the notes, but to the feelings they evoked, the colors they painted in Akari's mind. He was still afraid, still haunted, but a tiny seed of curiosity had been planted. One night, after weeks of this silent communion, Kaito finally gets the courage to plug in his tiny amplifier, the volume barely a whisper, just enough to be heard. He plays a hesitant, melancholy melody. It is not perfect. He hits a few sour notes, his fingers still stiff with fear. He is sure it sounds awful, a cacophony of his own brokenness, but Akari just smiles, their eyes closed, their hand pressed firmly to the bench. That one was like twilight, purple and grey with a little bit of orange hope at the end. And Kaito looks down at his hands. For the first time in a long, long time, they are not shaking. He realizes Akari is not listening for the mistakes. They are not listening for the prodigy he was supposed to be, the perfect machine that failed. They are just listening for him, for the raw, imperfect, honest sound of Kaito. A few nights later, the dam finally breaks. He tells Akari everything. The competition, the crack, the laughter, the crushing weight of expectation and failure. After I failed at the competition, everyone said my music had lost its soul, that it was just empty, technical garbage. He looks at Akari, his voice barely a whisper, raw with years of suppressed pain. I think they were right. I have been trying to find it again, but all I can make is static. Akari gets up and sits on Kaito's bench, a respectful distance away. Their presence is a quiet comfort. Maybe you are trying to play for them, Akari says gently, their voice barely above a murmur. For the ghosts, for the judges, and your old teacher, and those people in the crowd. Akari looks directly at him, their eyes clear and unwavering, seeing past the brokenness to the person underneath. What does it sound like when you play just for yourself? The question hangs in the air, heavy and profound. Kaito stares at his guitar, seeing it not as a symbol of failure, but as an instrument of possibility. He has been trying to recreate the music he used to make, the music everyone expected him to make. He never once stopped to think about what he wanted to make, what his own soul sounded like. He takes a deep breath, a tremor running through him. His eyes, once clouded with despair, are filled with a new resolve, a fragile flicker of courage. He looks at Akari, a silent question in his gaze. Can I play for you instead? Akari's eyes widen slightly, a hint of surprise, and then they give a warm, genuine smile, a smile that reaches their eyes and radiates pure acceptance. They nod, placing their hand back on the bench, closing their eyes in anticipation. I would like that very much. Kaito looks at the volume knob on his little amp. It has been stuck on 1 for weeks, a symbol of his fear, his self-imposed silence. He reaches down and with a soft click, he turns it up. Not to full blast, not to conquer the world, just to a clear, audible level. Enough to be heard, enough to be felt. He closes his eyes. He takes a breath, a deep, cleansing inhale that seems to clear years of dust from his lungs. And he plays. And this time he is not thinking about the notes. He is not thinking about the competition, or the judges, or the crowd. He is thinking about the color blue, about twilight, about a quiet park bench, and the one person in the world who taught him how to listen again. He plays for the vibrations, for the colors, for the honesty. The music that comes out is incredible. It is not perfect. It is not technical. It is raw and emotional and full of all the pain and loneliness he has been holding inside. But it is also full of something else, a little bit of orange hope, a fragile, blossoming melody that speaks of healing and new beginnings. When the final chord fades into the night, a lingering echo in the quiet park, Kaito is breathing heavily, looking at his own hands in disbelief. They are steady. They are alive. Akari opens their eyes, which are shining with unshed tears, reflecting the distant streetlights like tiny stars. It was a sunrise. And Kaito looks up at Akari, and a slow, hesitant smile forms on his face. It is the first real smile we have seen from him in years. It is shaky, but it is there, a genuine, heartfelt smile of relief and gratitude. Yeah, I think it was. He did not need to conquer the world. He did not need to be a prodigy. He just needed to find one person who could truly listen, one person who could see the colors in his broken music and help him find his way back to the sunrise.